Hi everybody, this is Laura
and Arnie
with Krazy Kool Cakes. Today we're going to be teaching you how to create a very popular design. This is a two-toned cake, also known as a split cake. Each half of the cake is a different color, like this Batman wedding cake we made a while back. Here I'm working on a 6-inch cake, and my cake is actually on its own 6-inch cardboard, but I've taped it on top of an 8-inch cardboard. And as you saw, I placed a ruler on top of the cake to help me determine the exact center, and I went ahead and made a mark on the cardboard on each side. Now I'm simply brushing on a little thin layer of water on the half that I'm going to be covering first. I'm turning the cake so that the half I'm going to be covering is facing away from me. Use the lines on the cardboard to help you do this. When placing the fondant on the cake, I only need to make sure that this half of the cake will be completely covered. Look for your little lines under the fondant so you know when you can stop. Once you've done this, you can go ahead and smooth your cake over like you would a regular cake, but make sure to only go over the half where you added water. Trim off any excess so it's not in your way, and find your little lines on the cardboard. Use a handheld blade to make a straight cut from the edge of the cake all the way down to your mark. I use scissors to cut off the majority of the fondant that's hanging over, just so that it's not in my way. I've turned the cake over, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Perfectly straight cut from the edge all the way down to the mark on my cardboard. Then I'm getting rid of all of this extra fondant. To make the final cut, I'm going to place my ruler on top of the cake and make sure it's perfectly aligned with my two cuts on the side. I'm carefully holding my ruler to make sure it doesn't move on me, and now I'm just going to simply make one long cut from one edge of the cake to the other. I'm carefully peeling the fondant off, and I have no worries about it sticking since I didn't wet the other half. I'm giving it one good final smooth over to make sure my fondant is nice and stuck before I place it back in the fridge. I have a second larger tier that I've already covered in my pale olive green fondant, and I'm going to cover the other half of this tier in white fondant. So I'm going to do what I did before. I'm just simply going to add a little bit of water all over this second half, and I've only rolled out enough white fondant to make sure it covers half of the cake. Once my fondant is on there, I'm going to simply smooth it over this half of the cake, and I know when I can stop because I can actually see the edge of the other fondant underneath. Once all the fondant is smoothed down, I'm going to go ahead and cut off the excess so that it's not in my way, and I'm going to use my smoother to smooth over the entire half of the cake. Make sure you can clearly see the edge of the fondant underneath, and then use your handheld blade to cut a straight line on this edge. Trim off anything that's in your way and then smooth over the seam. I'm turning my cake on the other side, and I'm going to find the edge of the fondant underneath, and with my handheld blade, make a straight cut from the very top all the way to the bottom. Always trim off any fondant that's in your way. I'm going to use my scissors to cut off the majority of the fondant that's on top of the cake that I know I'm not going to use. Run your finger over or your smoother over the top seam so that you can easily see it. Then just carefully make one long cut from one end of the cake to the other right at the seam. Use your smoother to help you move the fondant over if you have a tiny bit of a gap, and you can also add a little bit of water in between to make sure you have a nice good seal in between your two colors. You can also use your fingers to nudge it closed. I'm trimming off all my extra fondant, and then I'm just going to give it one last final smooth over before I stick it in the fridge. Now that is cool, a two-tone cake, and it's so simple to do. Here's my little 6-inch cake tier again, and just to show you how easy this is to do, I'm going to cover the second half in a pretty pastel pink color. In a lot of ways, this is a lot easier than covering an entire cake with just one colored fondant, because you really don't have to worry about creases and wrinkles. You can just stretch all the fondant back towards you. For this cake, I'm going to be hand painting leopard print on the pink side and hand painting camouflage on the olive green side. The other cake you saw earlier is going to have zebra stripes on the white side. Anytime you're working like this with fondant, it really does help to have a strong, reliable buttercream. So I would really recommend that you check out our perfect icing consistencies tutorial. You can find the link to that in the Show More section underneath our video. I'll also add the link to our Batman wedding cake so you can see how cool that design turned out. I really enjoy creating two-tone cakes because the amount of designs that you can come up with is just infinite. To create a perfectly executed two-tone cake, you really just need to be careful, take your time, and just do clean work. It's that simple. Then you'll see just how fun and easy this is to do. And the more you do, the easier and easier it gets. How cool is that? Man, I love doing two-tone cakes. They are such a blast to do, you guys, and I really hope you have the opportunity to make one yourself. Check out this cake that we did for twins. Our two-tone technique worked perfectly for this design. We hope you enjoyed this tutorial.
Thanks for watching, everybody, and enjoy making your two-tone cakes.
We have lots of other awesome tutorials in our YouTube channel that we would love for you to check out. If you'd like to see the perfect icing consistencies video I mentioned in this tutorial, click on the video on the left. If you'd like to learn how to make an awesome Jack Skellington cake, click on the video on the right. If you happen to be on a mobile device, you can find links to these videos in the Show More section underneath our video. If you're not a subscriber yet, what are you waiting for? We would love for you to become one of our subscribers, so be sure to hit that subscribe button. We'd like to invite you to visit our online shops where you can find lots of other tutorials as well as our handmade merchandise. We'd love it if you could follow us on our social media as well. You can find all the links underneath our video.